I never thought I'd get a job like this. Sitting in my corner office, coffee in hand, I kept thinking, I earned this. Years of late nights, extra projects, and endless emails finally felt worth it. Morning, Alex. How's the report coming along? My boss asked, leaning against my doorframe. Morning, Mr. Hayes. Almost done. Just polishing the last figures, I said, trying not to let my excitement show too much. I liked staying professional, but praise made me glow inside. He smiled. I don't doubt it. You've been killing it lately. Honestly, I don't know how the department survived before you. Thanks. That means a lot, I said, grinning. But the team did most of the work. Sure, he waved dismissively, but I caught the little nod toward Clara, who sat across the room, tapping away on her keyboard. She looked up and winked. Hey, Alex, need help with anything? She asked, her voice cheerful, almost too cheerful. No, I've got it. But thanks, I said, genuinely meaning it. I trusted her. Always had. She tilted her head, eyes lingering a second too long on the numbers I was checking. You've really grown here, huh? It's impressive. Thanks, Clara. Same to you. You're always on top of your game, I replied. I didn't notice the subtle curl of her lips, just slightly bitter, like she was forcing a smile. I laughed, rubbing my temples. Remember when we stayed late for the Harrison project? I thought I'd lose my mind. You survived, she said, smirking. Somehow. Her laugh was light, but I didn't hear the edge beneath it. Mr. Hayes cleared his throat. Anyway, team, big presentation next week. I want everyone at their best. Alex, I know you'll handle the numbers. Of course, sir, I said. My stomach tightened with pride and a tiny spark of nerves. After he left, Clara leaned back in her chair. You always make it look easy, don't you? She said casually, stretching. Not really. I panic every time, I admitted. I like knowing I gave it my all. She hummed softly, eyes scanning my desk. I guess. You're dedicated. Her voice had a hint of something I couldn't place, envy, maybe. I smiled, brushing it off. Well, dedication pays off. Sure, she murmured. She went back to her screen, typing rapidly. I shook my head, trying to ignore the small prick of unease. Maybe I was reading too much into it. Clara had always been competitive, but that was part of her charm, or so I thought. By the way, she said suddenly, swiveling her chair toward me, if you ever need me to double-check anything, just ask. I'm happy to help. Thanks, really. I appreciate it, I said, sincerely. Her offer felt genuine, and I smiled, letting my guard down. I leaned back in my chair inside. Life felt perfect. Or as perfect as it could. I had a boss who noticed my effort, a coworker who seemed like a friend, and a job I genuinely enjoyed. I glanced at the framed photo on my desk, Clara and me from the office retreat last year. We were laughing, arms over each other's shoulders, oblivious to the future. I didn't know then that smiles could hide so much. For now, though, I felt secure, confident, and unstoppable. I didn't see the first hint of the storm that was about to hit. I was at my desk when Mr. Hayes stormed in, red-faced and shaking his clipboard. My heart skipped. Alex, can you explain this? Explain what? I asked, frowning. This report, he slammed it down. These numbers are completely off. The Harrison project is in jeopardy because of your calculations. What? That can't be right. I double-checked everything last night, I said, panic rising in my chest. I even emailed Clara to review the final figures. Clara appeared behind him, arms crossed, calm as ever. Actually, Mr. Hayes, I think Alex must have mixed the numbers. I noticed a few discrepancies while helping with the project. I blinked. Clara, no, I sent you the final sheet. You saw it yesterday. She tilted her head, smiling faintly. I might have missed a column. You know, busy schedules and all. It's just, unfortunate timing. Unfortunate? My voice cracked. Clara, Mr. Hayes held up a hand. Enough. I can't risk this kind of mistake. Alex, I'm letting you go, effective immediately. I froze. Wait, what? Fired? Are you serious? I am, he said, avoiding my eyes. We can't have errors like this in front of the board. I'm sorry. But I didn't, my voice faltered. I didn't make a mistake. Clara, she's the one. She said you did, he interrupted. And honestly, I have to trust her judgment on this. I felt my stomach drop. Trust her? After everything? Mr. Hayes, please. I've worked here for years. You know my record. This is a setup. James, a coworker I barely knew, watched from across the room, silent. I thought maybe he'd speak up, defend me, but he didn't. He just shifted uncomfortably in his chair. Clara's smile widened, subtle but sharp. I'm sorry, Alex. I really am. I hate that it came to this, but the evidence, well, it's pretty clear. You set me up, I whispered, barely audible. My hands shook as I clutched the edge of my desk. I don't see it that way, she said smoothly. I just did what was necessary. You'd have done the same, wouldn't you? No. I shouted. I wouldn't. I would never, my voice cracked. You ruined me. You knew how much this job meant. Clara's eyes softened, just enough to twist the knife. I'm sorry, Alex. Truly. But sometimes, people get what they deserve, even if they don't see it coming. I couldn't breathe. My chest tightened. I trusted you, I said, voice low, trembling. I told you everything, shared everything with you. How could you do this to me? She leaned closer, whispering, business isn't personal, Alex. You'll understand one day. I wanted to scream, to shake her, to make her feel even a fraction of the devastation I was drowning in. You're cruel, I muttered. Mr. Hayes cleared his throat. Alex, you should pack your things. HR will escort you out. I felt numb as I gathered my laptop and personal items. Every step toward the door felt heavier than the last. The office felt alien, like I was seeing it for the first time. Clara, I whispered, stopping by her desk. She didn't look up, fingers flying across her keyboard. You'll pay for this. A faint smirk. I doubt that, Alex. But good luck out there. I walked past James, who avoided my gaze. Not a word. Not a single ally. Just silence. Outside, the sun was blinding. I squinted, tasting tears I refused to shed. My legs wobbled, and I nearly fell onto the pavement. I couldn't believe it. Fired. Framed. Alone. Alex, hey, are you okay? Someone called. I turned to see a messenger from HR approaching. I shook my head. No. No, I'm not okay. She hesitated. Do you want me to call someone? No, I said, voice hollow. I need to be alone. I wandered the streets, heart pounding, mind racing. How could Clara betray me like that? We'd shared lunches, late nights, secrets I'd thought safe. And now she'd thrown me under the bus. I clutched my chest, trying to stop the ache. How did I not see it? I asked myself. Was I too trusting? Too blind? Every memory of our friendship twisted, poisoned by her betrayal. The lunch we had last week, laughing over nothing. Was that her plan? The small, helpful tip she gave me on the Harrison project, was she setting me up all along? I sank onto a bench, watching people pass by, oblivious. They didn't know. They couldn't know. And yet, the world hadn't stopped for me. The world kept moving, while I was left shattered, humiliated, powerless. I clenched my fists. Anger surged, mingled with despair. This wasn't over. Not by a long shot. I would find a way. I didn't know how yet, but I would. She won today. But I swear, tomorrow, things would be different. I shut the apartment door behind me and leaned against it, trembling. My laptop bag felt like it weighed a ton, heavier than my chest. I wanted to scream, throw things, anything to make the world stop spinning. Alex? My mom's voice came from the kitchen. Are you home? I'm here, I said, my voice shaking. She appeared in the doorway, eyebrows drawn together. What happened? You look like you've seen a ghost. I sank onto the couch, head in my hands. I lost my job, Mom. Clara, she framed me. Everything, they believe her over me. She knelt in front of me. Wait, what? Clara? Your friend. I nodded, bitter laughter escaping me. My so-called friend. She lied. And Mr. Hayes, he fired me without even looking at the facts. Mom grabbed my hands, squeezing gently. Oh, Alex. I'm so sorry. I can't believe she'd do that. You've worked so hard. I know, I muttered. I know I've worked hard, but it doesn't matter. She's ruthless. And no one even tried to see the truth. Mom sighed, running a hand through my hair. People like that, they always find a way. But don't let her win your peace, Alex. You're better than this. I pulled my hands back. Better? Mom, I trusted her. I shared everything with her. And now I'm nothing. Fired. Humiliated. And the worst part? Everyone thinks I'm incompetent. She shook her head. You're not nothing. You're you. And we'll figure this out. But tell me, how are you feeling? Really? I clenched my fists, jaw tight. Angry. So angry. I can't stop thinking about how easy it would be to. I stopped, my own words sounding frightening even to me. To what? She asked gently. To make her pay, I whispered. To show her, to show everyone she can't do this to me. But I don't know if I should. Mom's eyes softened. Alex, I understand the anger. I really do. But remember, revenge can hurt you more than it hurts her. Think before you act. I groaned, leaning back. I can't stop imagining it, Mom. If I had the power, the resources, I'd make sure she never hurt anyone like this again. Every day I picture her panicking, scrambling while I watch. And it feels satisfying. Mom frowned slightly. Satisfying in your mind, maybe. But in reality, you have to be careful. Don't lose yourself to her lies and cruelty. I know, I admitted. I feel powerless right now. I can't believe I didn't see it. Every little hint she dropped, every fake smile. I ignored it. I wanted to trust her. I wanted to believe she was on my side. Sometimes people are like that, Mom said softly. They hide the worst under a smile. That doesn't mean you were wrong to trust her. I let out a bitter laugh. Wrong to trust? Maybe not. But stupid? Yeah, I feel stupid. Mom shook her head. You're not stupid, Alex. You're human. You've been blindsided. Now it's time to decide, what will you do next? I closed my eyes, imagining her face. Her smirk, her calm voice, pretending to care. My fists clenched again. I could ruin her if I wanted to. I could take everything from her like she took from me. The thought made my pulse race, but also, scared me. Maybe I should just walk away, I whispered. Forget the anger. Move on. But, how can I? She humiliated me in front of everyone. She hurt you, yes, Mom said. But hurting her back doesn't fix what you feel inside. You need a plan, Alex. Not just anger. Control your power, or it will control you. I opened my eyes, staring at the floor. A plan. I like the sound of that. Not just revenge. Strategy. Make her regret ever touching my life. But not recklessly. Mom nodded. That's the way. Let your mind guide your anger, not your fists. I sighed, finally leaning back, exhaustion washing over me. I can't believe this is my life now. Fired. Betrayed. Alone, at least for now. Mom smiled faintly, brushing a loose strand of hair from my face. You're never truly alone, Alex. Remember that. And whatever you decide, I'll be here. I swallowed, nodding. Thanks, Mom. I think I know what I need to do. Slowly. Carefully. Make her pay, on my terms. And in that moment, a spark ignited inside me. Anger, yes, but also determination. I wouldn't just survive. I would rise. And Clara, she wouldn't see it coming. I sat in my small apartment, laptop open, staring at the company's public filings and financial reports. Every number, every chart, every weak point, my mind devoured it like a puzzle I had to solve. There was a knock at the door. I hesitated. Alex? It's me, said a familiar voice. Mr. Reynolds. My mentor, the one I had turned to during my first real project years ago. Come in, I said, my voice tight. My chest felt like it was still heavy from the last few days. He entered, eyes scanning my cluttered apartment. Looks like the storm hit harder than I thought. You have no idea, I muttered, closing the laptop. Clara, I stopped, glaring at him. She set me up. And Hayes didn't even look at the facts. Reynolds sighed, sitting across from me. I've heard. And I won't pretend it doesn't sting. But sitting here feeling powerless won't help. You want to get back at her, don't you? I nodded, leaning forward. Yes. But I don't want to act recklessly. I need a plan. Something solid. Something clever. He smiled faintly. Good. Smart. Anger is a fuel, not a strategy. Let's start with the company. Do you know their weaknesses? I opened the laptop again, pointing to a chart. Look at this. Their main cash flow comes from a few big clients. And their management structure, top-heavy, easily influenced. If someone gained even a small stake, they could disrupt decisions. Exactly, Reynolds said. And that someone could be you. But first, you need resources. Money, allies, information. Can you reach your old contacts? I nodded slowly. I can. I burned some bridges back in the day, but a few people I helped might still be willing to talk. People who owe me favors. Good, Reynolds said. Call them. Ask questions. Learn quietly. And Alex, he leaned closer. Don't let your anger show too early. They'll see it. You'll need subtlety. I ran my fingers through my hair. Subtlety. Right. But what about financing? I can't exactly buy the company outright. He tapped a pen on the table. You don't need to buy all of it. A small strategic stake is enough to start. You can leverage that to influence decisions. And you know a few investors who respect you. Call them. Gauge interest. I nodded, my pulse quickening. I think I can do that. But it will take time. I need a network, information, and money. Reynolds smiled. Time is on your side if you plan carefully. And Alex, the best revenge is control. Not chaos. Control makes people regret every little misstep. I leaned back, thinking about Clara. Her smirk, her fake concern. If I gained even a fraction of that power, she wouldn't know what hit her. Control. I like that. Good. Start small, Reynolds said. You need victories, however tiny, to build momentum. Even small wins make a big difference psychologically. And when you move for the big one, you'll be ready. I closed my eyes for a moment, imagining her scrambling while I sat calm, holding the strings. The thought sent a thrill through me. Alex? Reynolds asked, snapping me back. Focus. Write down the first 3 steps. Start calling contacts tomorrow. Research investors. Find allies quietly. And, don't underestimate the legal department. Every move must be clean. I scribbled notes, feeling a strange mix of fear and excitement. First, contacts. Second, investors. Third, gather information. Anything else? Patience, he said firmly. And restraint. Remember, people watch weakness. Never show them yours. Only the part they think they can't touch. I nodded, swallowing hard. I can do that. I have to. Reynolds leaned back, studying me. I believe you will. You've always been smart, Alex. Anger lit the fire, but your mind will guide it. Use it. And remember, Clara didn't think you'd recover. That's her mistake. I smiled faintly, a cold, determined smile. Her mistake, right. I'll make her regret thinking she won. But slowly. Carefully. Every step will count. He nodded. Exactly. And don't forget to protect yourself. Don't rush. Think 3 steps ahead. And if you need me, I'll be here. But this is your fight, Alex. I stared at my laptop again, the numbers, the reports, the weak points all coming together in my mind. The world outside my apartment suddenly felt full of possibilities. Not just hope, control. Power. Revenge without recklessness. Tomorrow, I whispered to myself. Tomorrow, it begins. First the small steps, and then, everything. Reynolds stood. I'll leave you to it. Call me when you're ready. Remember, strategy first, emotion second. I will, I said, my hands already moving across the keyboard, drafting emails, jotting notes, mapping contacts. My chest was still heavy, but now it was mixed with something new, anticipation, focus, and the faint thrill of the first step toward turning my life back around. For the first time since Clara betrayed me, I felt like I had control. And the thought of facing her, when I was ready, made me grin. She thought she won. She has no idea what's coming. I started small, like a quiet whisper in an empty room. Alex, do you have a minute? Karen from procurement asked, poking her head into my makeshift workspace. Sure, I said, smiling on autopilot. What's up? She shut the door. I found a discrepancy in the vendor logs. Clara approved the order, but the invoice doesn't match the delivery. Do you remember anything? I feigned surprise. No, but show me. She pushed a folder. Quantities and costs don't line up. I thought Clara signed it, so I didn't question it. Let me take a look, I said. My heart thumped, a thrill I tried to ignore. Check the timestamps. Approvals sometimes overlap. Karen's eyes widened. I didn't. Do you think it's an error? Could be. Or someone didn't update the spreadsheet. I kept casual. I'll flag it and run a quick cross-check. If auditors see it first, we're in trouble. You're a lifesaver, she said. After she left, I breathed. The first seed was planted. Quiet. Practical. Useful. Not an attack, but attention nudged toward Clara. In the break room, I bumped into Daniel from sales. Hey, Alex. Daniel. Quick thing, notice delays from Clara's team. He frowned. Now that you say it, yes. Thought it was on my end. Maybe we should sync timelines, I suggested. If multiple teams report delays, someone should check the process. He nodded. Yeah. Makes sense. Each small conversation widened doubt without accusation. Doubt is corrosive when left to fester. Clara remained oblivious at first, confident in the narrative she built. Pride does strange things. One morning, Mr. Hayes called an emergency huddle. We have issues with supply costs. Can someone explain why margins are dropping? Clara shifted. I've been handling accounts. Maybe external factors. Maybe. Hayes looked at me. Any insight, Alex? I found a vendor discrepancy, I said, steady. Running an audit on approvals and deliveries. Might explain part of the drop. Clara's jaw tightened. I reviewed everything. Must be another source. Sometimes mistakes hide in plain sight, I said. Fresh eyes help. Afterward, Clara cornered me, fake sweet. Why poke around my accounts? I'm helping the company, I said. If there's a leak, we fix it. Not personal. You didn't seem interested last week, she sneered. I was busy. I smiled thinly. Now I have time. Be careful, Alex. You're treading on thin ice. Thanks, I said. My smile was colder than it felt. James, who watched me get fired, started sending short messages. Did you hear about procurement? Crazy. I replied, planting curiosity. Yeah. Strange timing. He asked, linked. Could be, I wrote. Worth digging. The idea spread like a faint scent. People asked questions quietly. I never said Clara's name loud. Silence fed suspicion better than accusation. At home, guilt gnawed. Mom called. Are you eating? I'm fine, I lied. The nighttime was worse. I pictured Clara, smug at her desk. Part of me wanted to expose her publicly. Another part, older and sharp, told me to be patient. You don't want to become her, I told myself. Karen later brought coffee. I ran your check. You're right, approvals time-stamped incorrectly, manual overrides. Someone's covering tracks. Good work, I said. Who do you suspect? She asked. I want to believe it's a mistake, I said. But keep quiet. Let auditors dig. She nodded. Momentum felt intoxicating. I moved from victim to someone with influence. Yet guilt shadowed every victory. Is this justice? I whispered to the dark. It's leverage, I answered. Use it. I promised balance. Reveal enough to weaken her, not destroy. Facts, not fury. Small errors kept surfacing, an invoice here, a missed delivery there. Breadcrumbs led to a larger truth. My role in finding them gave me strength. The more people questioned, the less safe Clara's throne. She still smiled sometimes, public kindness that missed her eyes. The smile made me sick and determined. Keep going, I told myself. One whisper at a time. A week later, at a quick team sync, Hayes asked, "Why did a client report missing items?" Clara hesitated. "We dispatched." I spoke up, steady. "I checked delivery logs. There's a gap at the warehouse handoff." Hayes looked up. "Who handled that batch?" "Log shows it was approved late with a manual override," I said, pointing. "Timestamps don't match the driver's log." A hush fell. "Manual overrides worry auditors," Daniel said. Clara's smile faltered. "I'll investigate." After the meeting, Daniel pulled me aside. "You saved us a mess, Alex." "I just followed the trail," I said. He nodded. "People notice. Be careful, though." "I will. I just want the truth out." That night I stared at the ceiling. Each small reveal tightened the space Clara had claimed. My chest hurt with guilt and a fierce pride. I was changing the balance, one whisper at a time. I sat across from Samantha, my lawyer and financial broker, in her sleek office, watching her shuffle papers. "So, Alex," she said, eyes sharp. "You're serious about acquiring a stake in your old company?" "I am," I said, leaning forward. "I want enough influence to change things, to make sure Clara can't manipulate anyone else." She raised an eyebrow. "That's ambitious. But you have the resources." Between my savings, a few investors, and the contacts I reconnected with, I let the pause hang. "Yes. We can make this work." Samantha nodded. "Good. First, we'll need to structure it legally. A minority stake with voting power, some influence on board decisions, and a clear path to more control if necessary." I scribbled notes furiously. Exactly what I had in mind. "I don't want to overreach, just enough to be dangerous." She smiled faintly. "I like your style. Subtle, calculated." The next week, I made calls. Investors I once ignored now listened intently. "Alex," one said, "you were always meticulous. If you're telling me this is solid, I trust you." I leaned back, letting the satisfaction settle. I wouldn't ask if it wasn't. Meanwhile, Clara didn't see it coming. In meetings, she acted confident, but I noticed tiny cracks, hesitation, sharper retorts than usual, quick glances at my notes. She was sensing the shift, but she still underestimated me. At a board meeting, Hayes asked, "Alex, you've been consulting on some operational concerns. What's your assessment?" I smiled, calm. "I've noticed areas where processes are inefficient. If we adjust approvals and reassign responsibilities, we could reduce overhead and prevent errors." Clara frowned. "I've handled approvals for years. I don't see why we need to change." "Because the numbers tell a story," I said evenly. "It's not about blame. It's about results." Daniel, Clara's rival, leaned toward me. "You're right. Some of these inefficiencies have been costing the company." I kept my tone neutral. "I just want the company to run smoothly. Nothing personal." Clara's jaw tightened, and I felt a small surge of satisfaction. She hated losing control. Later, Samantha called. "The investors are on board. We can acquire the stake next week." I grinned. Finally. Time to put plans into motion. "Remember," she said, serious, "once you have even a small stake, people will notice. Move carefully. Influence is a delicate game." "I know," I said. "I'm ready." The following Monday, I walked into the office like I owned a secret. Not arrogance, control. Small but undeniable. People greeted me differently. Whispers followed me in the hallways. Clara noticed it, too. She cornered me near the elevator. "Alex, I don't know what you're trying to do, but—" "Nothing," I said, smiling. "Just observing the company. Making sure everything runs as it should." Her eyes narrowed. You think you can step in after everything? I'm not thinking, I said smoothly. I'm acting. At the acquisition meeting, Samantha guided me through the paperwork. Sign here, here, and here. This gives you voting power proportionate to your stake. It's enough to make your influence felt without overreaching. I signed, feeling the weight of possibility. Done. Now it begins. Back at the office, Hayes called me into a private meeting. Alex, the board is asking for your input more often. Your insight is valuable. I leaned back. I'm happy to help. I want the company to succeed, and I have experience that might be useful. You're becoming indispensable, Hayes said cautiously. Clara seems unsettled. I let a small smile creep in. Sometimes fresh eyes make people nervous. That's natural. Daniel popped in mid-discussion. Alex, if you're adjusting workflow, you might want to review department assignments. I've noticed overlap causing delays. I nodded. Good idea. I'll handle it. Daniel glanced at Clara. Efficiency matters more than pride. Clara's hands clenched in her lap. I'll monitor. Every move, calculated. Every suggestion, a small domino. She realized I was a threat, but she couldn't yet stop me. That evening, Samantha called again. Alex, the board is shifting. Your stake gives you leverage. People are questioning old hierarchies. I sat back, feeling exhilarated. Exactly. Just the beginning. Clara thinks she's untouchable. She has no idea. Remember, Samantha cautioned, don't rush. Influence takes time. The bigger you aim, the more cautious you must be. I understand, I said. Patience, strategy, control. I left the office later, walking past Clara's desk. She pretended to type furiously, but I caught her glare. She knew. And I smiled inside. She finally understood that I wasn't the powerless employee she had framed. I was calculating, confident, dangerous. In that moment, I felt a surge of power I hadn't felt in years. Not reckless power, but controlled, deliberate, and growing. I whispered to myself as I stepped into the elevator, this is just the beginning, Clara. You thought you won. You were wrong. I saw her before she noticed me, Clara, pacing in her office, pale and frantic. The confident mask she wore for months had crumbled. I knocked once. Clara. Can we talk? She spun around, eyes wide. Alex, what are you doing here? I think you know. I stepped in, calm. About the acquisition. About the stake I bought. Her hands trembled. I don't understand. How did you? I anticipated the gaps in your approvals, the weak spots you ignored, I said. I reached out to investors, reconnected with contacts you thought irrelevant, and quietly secured leverage. Every move calculated. Clara sank into her chair. You planned this all along. I thought I had the upper hand. You did, for a while, I said, folding my arms. But I never lost focus. Every mistake you made, every oversight, I noted. Every confidence you felt in your little web, I recorded it in my mind. She shook her head, voice cracking. I didn't think it would come to this. I never thought you'd. Never thought I'd expose the truth. I asked softly. You framed me, Clara. You ruined my career overnight. Do you remember how it felt to be powerless? Her eyes filled with tears. I didn't think. I thought it was just business. I didn't. You betrayed me, I interrupted, voice steady. And I've spent every day since thinking about one thing, restoring balance. Not chaos, not recklessness. Balance. And now, look at you. She stared at me, panic spreading. Alex, I didn't know you'd. I didn't have to, I said. I let you believe you were untouchable. And while you were busy gloating, I quietly gained influence. The board knows the truth of your mistakes. Investors question your competence. You're cornered, Clara, and it's your own making. Her voice was small now. I didn't mean to hurt you. I just wanted what? I pressed gently. To be better than me. To feel superior. To win at any cost. She looked down. Yes. I don't know. I thought I deserved it. Deserved what? I asked, calm, eyes locked on hers. To destroy someone who trusted you. She shook her head, tears streaking her cheeks. I was jealous. I envied you. Your work, your dedication, your everything. And when I felt small, I acted. I acted wrongly. I nodded, letting the truth hang in the air. And now you feel the consequences. Fear, doubt, loss of control. I can see it in your eyes. This is the reality you created. She buried her face in her hands. I can't fix this. I can't. No, I said softly. You can't undo what you did. But you can face it. You can survive it. Or you can crumble. That's your choice. Clara looked up, her pride shattered. Alex, why are you so calm? Because I prepared, I said. Because I didn't react with anger. Because I acted strategically. And because, unlike you, I don't need to destroy anyone. I only need to reclaim what's mine, and ensure the company runs fairly. Her lips trembled. I never thought. I thought you'd be ruined. That I'd win. You thought wrong, I said, a faint smile touching my lips. The truth has a way of surfacing. Karma isn't always loud, Clara. Sometimes it's quiet, precise, and inevitable. She leaned back, defeated. I envy your patience. I failed in every way. You underestimated me, I said. That was your first mistake. Every move you made against me, I turned into information, leverage, insight. And now? You have no advantage left. She buried her face again. I never meant. You acted out of envy, I said firmly. And now you face the consequences. This is justice, Clara. Not revenge. Just justice. The office was silent except for her quiet sobs. I felt a strange mix of satisfaction and pity. Satisfaction for the balance restored, pity for the person who had once been my friend. I turned to leave, calm and unshakable. Remember, Clara, actions have consequences. I hope you learn from this. I hope you truly do. As I walked out, she whispered, barely audible, I see it now. I see everything. And I knew she did. The boardroom buzzed with quiet tension as I walked in. Clara was already there, sitting rigidly, her hands folded on the table. Her eyes flicked to me, panic barely concealed behind forced composure. Alex, she said, voice sharp. I didn't expect you here tonight. I told you I'd be involved, I said evenly. I have a stake now, and I take responsibility for ensuring the company's decisions are sound. She swallowed hard. I just hope you understand the weight of your actions. I understand perfectly, I interrupted gently, letting my calm cut through her tension. I also understand the mistakes you've made. Clara's lips trembled. Mistakes? Alex, you think you can just waltz in and judge everything? You think you had control, I said, letting a faint smile touch my lips. But control is earned, not taken by fear or deception. I've studied, prepared, and acted strategically. Every oversight, every misstep of yours. I knew about it. She glanced around at the board members. This isn't fair. You're manipulating them. I'm presenting facts, I said calmly. You mismanaged approvals, overlooked critical inefficiencies, and jeopardized client relationships. These aren't opinions. They're documented. A murmur ran through the room. Board members exchanged glances, some leaning forward, intrigued. Clara's confidence faltered. I can fix this, she said, voice cracking. I can make it right, just give me a chance. Chance? I echoed softly. You had your chance. You had years to act with integrity. Instead, you betrayed trust, ignored protocols, and even tried to ruin me. Now the consequences unfold naturally. Her hands gripped the table. Please. I'm begging you. Don't destroy me in front of everyone. We can. You don't need me to destroy you, I said. You're doing a fine job of it yourself. The room went silent. I let it linger. Then I addressed the board. I'm not here to humiliate anyone. I'm here to ensure the company functions properly. Oversight must be enforced. Decisions must be accountable. That's my responsibility now, and I intend to uphold it. One of the senior members, Mrs. Patel, nodded. Alex is correct. We've seen repeated issues with project timelines and client reports. It's concerning. Clara's face paled. Alex, you're. Not me, I said firmly. The facts speak for themselves. Daniel, sitting across from her, leaned in. She's right. We can't ignore the patterns. Alex has presented the evidence clearly. Clara's voice shook. I didn't know it would come to this. I only wanted. Envy. I asked softly. Power. Recognition at the expense of others. Her hands trembled. I thought I deserved it. I didn't realize. You didn't realize what? I pressed, calmly watching her unravel. That actions have consequences. That truth always surfaces. She broke off, tears welling. I can't undo it. I shook my head gently. No, you can't undo the past. But you can face it, accept it, and learn. That's all anyone can do. Her eyes darted around the room. They'll never respect me again. Respect is earned, I said softly. Integrity is demonstrated through actions. You had plenty of time to show both. The room remained quiet, board members watching, absorbing the weight of the moment. Clara's pride had crumbled, replaced by panic, guilt, and regret. I felt a strange calm, a mix of satisfaction and empathy. I could humiliate her, revel in revenge, but I stopped myself. Karma, subtle and inevitable, was unfolding on its own. I didn't need to push further. I'm here to guide the company forward, I said, addressing the room again. Mistakes have consequences, and learning from them strengthens the organization. That is the path we must follow. Clara's shoulders slumped. She finally looked small, fragile. I saw her envy, her pride, her ambition all evaporate into recognition of the truth. You, she whispered, barely audible. You're different. Calm. Calculating. I envy that. I used my mind, not my anger, I said softly. I let facts guide me, strategy define me, and patience sustain me. You acted on impulse. That is the difference. Her gaze fell to the table, silent. The room's tension eased slightly as members began nodding at my recommendations. Plans for adjustments, new oversight protocols, and operational improvements were discussed. Clara had no words left to challenge. Finally, Hayes spoke. Alex, your input has been invaluable. We'll proceed with the suggested measures. I smiled faintly. Thank you. That's all I ask, accountability, fairness, and progress. Clara didn't speak. She merely watched as her world shifted around her, powerless to influence it. Her eyes met mine for a fleeting second, fear, guilt, and realization reflected there. As the meeting adjourned, I gathered my papers. I felt lighter than I had in weeks. Not because I had won or because Clara had fallen, but because I had acted with control, clarity, and restraint. Walking out of the boardroom, I whispered to myself, justice doesn't always scream. Sometimes it's quiet, inevitable, and perfectly timed. I glanced back once. Clara remained seated, staring at the floor, facing the full weight of her actions. And I realized, I had finally reclaimed not just my power, but my peace. I sat in my office, alone, the city lights painting soft reflections on the windows. The hum of the city below felt almost meditative. Alex, I whispered to myself, you made it. You survived. The phone buzzed. It was Mom. Are you okay, honey? I've been worried. I'm better, I said, letting a faint smile touch my lips. It's been a lot. I can imagine. Clara, her voice trailed. She learned her lesson, I said calmly. I didn't need to crush her. Karma handled it quietly. Mom sighed. I'm proud of you. Not just for winning, but for handling it with dignity. I leaned back, thinking about the months that had passed. Losing my job, the humiliation, the sleepless nights, I had thought it was the end. But every setback had been a lesson. Every betrayal had pushed me to be smarter, patient, and stronger. Alex, I thought. You aren't the same person who walked out of that office stunned and betrayed. You're better. Wiser. Daniel sent a text. Congrats, Alex. You handled it perfectly. The board's impressed. You've changed the game. I typed back, thanks. Couldn't have done it without staying calm and watching carefully. Samantha called next. Alex, the acquisition is finalized, and the new oversight measures are in place. The company's in good hands. Good, I said softly. It feels surreal. It's well deserved, she said. You stayed focused. That's why you're where you are. I leaned back again, letting the quiet sink in. For weeks, I had imagined this moment, not the victory itself, but the calm afterward. The satisfaction of reclaiming control, tempered by the lessons learned. Clara crossed my mind, as she inevitably would. I pictured her now, isolated by her own mistakes, forced to reflect on envy and pride. She was a cautionary figure, a reminder of what happens when ambition blinds morality. I whispered to myself, I hope she learns, truly. The office door opened, and Karen walked in. Alex, everyone's talking about the changes. People respect you. They notice the difference. Difference? I asked. You're steady. Calculated. You don't react impulsively. And, you've restored balance. Everyone feels safer, more confident. I nodded. That was the goal. Not revenge, just correction. Daniel stopped by next. Alex, I've got to say, watching you handle the board, Clara, it was impressive. You didn't humiliate her, but you reclaimed control. That's rare. Thanks, I said, letting a hint of pride slip. It wasn't easy. The temptation to act on anger was strong. But I realized that true power doesn't need spectacle, it needs strategy and patience. I reflected on the nights I spent alone, planning, learning, and growing. The pain of betrayal had been unbearable, but it had forged something new within me. A resilience I hadn't known existed. Mom called again. Alex, are you eating? You've been so focused, I worry. I'm fine, I said. I've learned something, Mom. Life doesn't hand you victories, it teaches you patience, strategy, and the value of calm. I finally understand that. She chuckled softly. Sounds like you've grown, a lot. I smiled faintly. I have. And I'm still learning. But I've reclaimed more than my career, I've reclaimed myself. I'm no longer afraid of betrayal or failure. I've turned both into tools, lessons, and motivation. Karen knocked gently. Alex, just wanted to say thanks. You reminded me that even in chaos, focus and integrity matter. You changed the way I see things. Thank you, I said quietly. That's why I did this, not to crush someone, but to show that mistakes and envy can't define a company, or a person. Actions, integrity, and resilience do. The office felt calm now, the storm passed. I looked out the window again, the lights shimmering. The city moved, relentless and indifferent, but I felt steady, grounded, and aware of my own growth. I whispered to myself one last time, Alex, you survived betrayal, reclaimed your power, and grew stronger. That's the triumph that truly matters. And for the first time in months, I felt at peace. I walked into the sunlight that filtered through my apartment window, breathing in the crisp morning air. For the first time in months, I felt a sense of clarity, like the weight of betrayal had finally lifted. My phone buzzed. Alex, yes, that's me now, smiled at the name of the message. It was from Daniel. Meeting next week? I have a project that could use your insight. I typed back quickly, count me in. Let's make it happen. The world felt different now. I wasn't just surviving, I was planning, building, evolving. I could feel it in every deliberate step I took. Mom called shortly after. Alex, are you eating properly? You sound lighter today. I am, I said, laughing softly. Not just eating, Mom. I'm moving forward. I've learned a lot from everything that happened. I'm stronger than I ever thought I could be. I'm proud of you, she said warmly. You've always been brilliant, but now, you've got wisdom to match it. I leaned back, thinking about Clara for a moment. Not out of bitterness, but recognition. She had been a lesson, a cautionary tale, a mirror reflecting envy and poor choices. I whispered to myself, not my burden anymore. I've got my own path. At the cafe, I met with Samantha to discuss a new investment opportunity. Alex, I have to say, your strategic moves at the company impressed me. This next venture could really benefit from your approach. I hope so, I said, sipping my coffee. I want to build something meaningful, sustainable, something I can be proud of. You've earned that right, she said. After everything you went through, it's time to focus on growth, not just survival. I nodded, letting the thought sink in. Growth. That word felt heavy with possibility. I was no longer the person crushed by betrayal, no longer the one who doubted every move. I had regained control, but more importantly, I had learned patience, strategy, and self-respect. Walking back home, I passed a young intern struggling with her laptop outside a small office. Need help? I asked. She looked up, startled. Oh, yes, thank you. I knelt, fixing the connection. There you go. Easy now. Thanks, she said, smiling. You're really kind. I chuckled. Kindness matters. Even in business. Never forget that. As I continued walking, I reflected on the months of struggle, the humiliation, the plotting, the quiet victories, and the careful restoration of balance. I had faced fear, anger, and betrayal, but I had emerged stronger, wiser, and resilient. Alex, I reminded myself. You've changed. You're no longer defined by what others do to you. You define yourself. Later that evening, Daniel sent a text, "Dinner tonight? Discuss future plans." I smiled and replied, "Absolutely. Looking forward to it." There was a rhythm to life now, one I could control. Not everything was perfect, but everything felt deliberate. I had learned that fragility and uncertainty were constants, but so were resilience, foresight, and careful action. Sitting by the window, I thought about the years ahead. Opportunities, challenges, people to meet, ventures to create. I felt calm, focused, and ready. My past no longer dictated my future. Mom called one last time that day. "Alex. I hope you remember to pause and enjoy your victories. You deserve it." "I will, Mom," I said softly. "I've learned the hard way that balance matters. Strength alone isn't enough. You need perspective, patience, and purpose. I finally have all three." The sun dipped lower, casting a golden glow over the city. I watched the lights flicker on, each one a tiny reminder of possibilities, of life moving forward. I whispered to myself, this is just the beginning. No looking back. No bitterness. Only forward. Only growth. Only life. And with that, I closed my eyes for a moment, letting the calm settle in. Tomorrow, I would wake with purpose, ready to take deliberate steps toward a future I could shape, no longer defined by betrayal, but by choice, action, and resilience. A new chapter had begun, and this time, it was mine to write.